a lack of emotional intelligence is more noticeable and more damaging, has a greater impact. And the way the brain works, so if we look at our prefrontal cortex, that's where great decision-making takes place.
Grant Herbert is the founder and global managing partner of People Builders. He has a passionate message to share about being authentic and living the life you were created to live. Grant is an international award-winning leadership trainer and coach.
So emotional intelligence is an individual's ability to be aware of what's going on for them emotionally in the moment.
Grant is a globally recognized expert in the leadership application of emotional intelligence and social intelligence. He's helped many professional services leaders apply these principles, grow their capabilities, and understand applied neuroscience.
People don't get up in the morning and go, yes, I get to go to work today and be nasty to people and shout at them. And it just doesn't happen. It comes out of how they feel about themselves.
What advantage do you think it is of a leader recognizing there's a bit of an issue, or there's an advantage to be had by being better at this? What makes them a better leader if they go down this track?
Being able to get a hold of that, shift that, and change that, and have a different opinion of who I am, what I'm capable of, what I'm worthy of. And that all comes through building your emotional intelligence.
Grant Herbert, great to see you, my friend. We've known each other for well over a decade now. Must be about 13, 14 years, I think, since we
definitely
we first met, bumped into each other, and I can't even remember how we met.
I was introduced to you by a gentleman by the name of Joe Papadakis, and suggested that you were someone that I needed to meet, and you were at Hagemeyer then, I think, still.
Okay. Yeah,
and I rocked on down to your office and we had a great chat.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And, I really appreciate your wisdom and input. And, we've shared resources in Philippines and done a whole bunch of things together, which has been great. And we just had a conversation. So you've added value again to my business and thinking and all the rest of it. So I really appreciate your input.
Thank you. And definitely you as well.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So today we're talking about EI. Why don't you give us an idea of what's it all about and why is it important?
Fantastic. So thank you for calling it EI. A lot of people call it EQ.
I went for EQ in my head.
And I really appreciate the fact that you pulled out all stops there and went to EI. And the reason why that's important is that emotional intelligence is one thing, but EQ is a measure of that.
Right.
And for me, if we start the conversation measuring where we're at with it, this becomes another thing that we may or may not be good at. So it's just a pedantic thing that I do. But emotional intelligence is something that I was introduced to about 15, 16 years ago. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So I was sort of in the same boat as most leaders. Didn't know what it was, hadn't heard of it, might have heard of some book about it called Emotional Intelligence that was written in the late 80s, but nothing else other than that. What I did find out when I got to learn about it was that throughout my entire military and corporate career, I didn't have any of it.
Right.
And it was definitely the lack of emotional intelligence that created all the problems that I went through.
Yeah.
So that got my attention. So emotional intelligence is sometimes looked at, and the understanding people have, as being all lumped in together with what I also call social intelligence. So emotional intelligence is an individual's ability to be aware of what's going on for them emotionally in the moment.
Okay.
And then to use that information, that awareness, to manage how they respond to it. Social awareness or social intelligence is around having an awareness of what could be going on in the other person. And then using that to adjust the way that you interact with them, to have an understanding, to have empathy, all great things that we need to do as leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. So so EI is more the internal examination of yourself and understanding what's happening. Social intelligence more how that's applied in a team type environment.
Exactly. So if we look at emotional intelligence, there's two quadrants that we deal with. So there's emotional awareness or self-awareness first, and then there's self-management.
Okay.
And self-management is about how do I navigate those emotions? And I use that word navigate on purpose. For many years, and I did it as well as one of the emotional intelligence gurus around the world, as people would call me, I would say, manage your emotions. And most people have heard that. And my experience is that's the worst thing that you could actually get someone to do.
Mm.
You and I both, and every other human on the planet, we're emotional beings.
Yeah.
So emotions are physiological sensations that we go through in our body to let us know that something's going on in our world.
Yeah.
Now, when we manage the emotion, what people do is ignore them or suppress them. And just like a sharp pain in your heart tells you that you might want to go and see a doctor, emotions are really, really important. So the clue that you're given needs to be recognized. And then going through the psychology rather than the physiological of what do I make that mean?
Mm.
What does that mean for me? What is the thoughts that invokes? And, where does that take me? That's what we need to manage, because that then creates the feeling. So physical sensation.
Yeah.
What do I make that mean? What's the dialogue that I go through will determine the behavior.
So it's not about control, more about awareness, and then
So it's not about control of the
managing-
emotion, but it's
managing
about managing the behavior,
okay, right.
managing the thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm sure as a human being, you've done it as well, where, something will happen. You'll let that take you somewhere in your thinking.
Mm.
And it'll go, sometimes down an unhealthy path, or a path that is not true, but it seems true in that moment.
Totally.
So that's what we want to be
That's
able
the human
to
condition.
manage. Exactly.
Exactly.
And I think that's the most important thing you've said right there, Mark, is not something that is apart from us that we need to learn. We're emotional beings.
Yeah.
Emotions are designed in the way we're created to keep us safe, to help us to make good decisions.
Mm.
And there's a lot of neuroscience around it that we know today. And by the way, I'm a self-confessed neuroscience nerd,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Yep.
Going through some health issues in my own life, I went down a track of trying to work out, well, how does this brain actually work? And, all the nervous systems, etc.
You're a Huberman fan, aren't you?
I am.
I know he's great.
Andrew Huberman is one of my favorites.
I'm more at the sort of TikTok bro science end of that particular continuum, but he's great, isn't he?
He's fantastic. And
translates it into real world.
He exactly that. He takes the, subject and demystifies it.
Mm.
Another great person that I've learnt from is a lady by the name of Lisa Feldman Barrett, and she's written a book called How Emotions Are Made. And that's where I found out the up-to-date neuroscience around emotions. So, emotions are not something that we're all hardwired with. We don't all have 6 basic emotions that every person has. We don't all express emotions physically the same way.
Mm.
And that old thinking is what creates problems. So if you put a facial expression on as we're doing this, chat right now, if that's how I express a certain emotion and I then interpret that you're doing the same thing, I'm going to misread that.
Right.
All right. So we've learnt so much with the advent of fMRI. We no longer have to wait till people to die and cut their brain open and, see what was going on. We know in real time what's going on.
Yeah. fMRI? What's that?
So it is functional, the thing that takes a picture of your brain, magnetic radiation imaging or something like that.
Yes.
You can see that's not my area of expertise. So this is where we can take pictures of the brain.
Yeah. So that looks at the sort of live physiology of what's here when different emotions are on. Is that?
Yeah. So it can actually show what's going on in the brain when you are experiencing, certain emotions.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand that nobody else can make you feel anything. And the reason I know that is that whole process of going from that.
That's a bold statement.
Well, look, it is. But if you go through the physical, the physiological, as I said, what you make that mean determines what you feel.
Right.
And emotions are fleeting, but feelings can go on. And feelings can escalate or de-escalate. They can change. They can get bigger. They can then take the focus, and your behavior then as a leader can be different. So as an example, you and I both got adult children.
Yeah, we
My
do.
son, I'm blessed, he still lives at home.
Nice. I'm blessed. Mine don't.
He could sometimes drop his towel where it
Sure.
shouldn't be dropped, or leave his clothes behind his door, or
What's going to
whatever.
certain emotions for you?
It can, right? And this is what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that it's what I make that mean. So if I make that mean that he doesn't respect his mum and me and the house that we've provided and whatever, that's going to make me feel a total different way to me going, that's what kids do at 23 years of age.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that we are able to capture that and to reel it back in and to use our cognitive processes to be able to go, hang on a minute. No, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
It means this.
That's the interesting connection for me, because there's a couple of things you've said there because it's a learning area for me. You talked about everybody's different.
Yes.
So there must be a sense of some self-curiosity to understand how do I operate, which will be different from the way other people operate as far as emotions are concerned. And then the connection between that and a cognitive process that it doesn't suppress. It goes, okay, I'm feeling this. How am I responding to that? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
That connection with some cognitive function?
Most definitely. And, you may or may not have heard, it's said quite often, there's a debate, which is more important, IQ or EQ? EQ being the measure.
Is the answer. Yeah.
The answer is neither.
Yeah.
Because you need the cognitive process to navigate the skills and competencies of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's not which one is most important. I think the reason why that conversation started, at least I know it did, was because a lack of emotional intelligence is more noticeable and more damaging, has a greater impact than, the conversation around people's cognitive intelligence.
Yeah.
So yeah, most definitely you need both to, and the way the brain works. So if we look at our prefrontal cortex, behind our forehead, that's where great decision-making takes place. That's where emotional regulation takes place. And I'm not talking about, as I said, suppressing it. I'm talking about making good decisions around what I do when I experience that sensation, that feeling. So deeper down in the middle of the brain, we have the hippocampus, which is, full of emotionally charged memories. And that's why when someone raises their voice in a meeting, an individual can go back in their mind to when they were a small child being yelled at by a parent and experience the same feeling that they did back then and either withdraw or attack or whatever they did.
Yeah.
So, as I said,
complex.
It is very, very complex. It's very simple, though, to increase your level of emotional intelligence. The first thing we've got to do, though, is just make it an important thing. It's not a set of soft skills, warm and fuzzies that are nice to have. And, these are skills that we definitely need to have in today's world, even more so, Mark.
Yeah. Do you think there's, I think we'll definitely come to that, I think, because I think things are changing a lot. Do you think people are kind of have a natural disposition to be good at this or not good at this, or is there quite a bit of variety in that?
No, look, I can definitely understand you asking that question, because that's another one of the myths that people have talked about over the years, that some people are born with it and some people aren't.
Yep.
And I think my experience is that could be used as a reason not to develop it, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
So I just mustn't be it's like leadership. So there's born leaders. I disagree with that. No, these are learned competencies. It doesn't matter what age, what stage of life that you're at, you can learn these competencies. That's the key thing about it. They're not something that's, either hardwired in there or they're not.
Yeah.
These are practical skills that you can take someone as an individual or a team and you can walk them through.
Yeah.
Teach them strategies of how to be more aware in the moment. See, that's the key. It's not how do I handle my emotions? We've all heard some people will say things like, oh, men are not good with their emotions and ladies are better. And I know a lot of ladies, when that is said, are thinking, you think so? Like, I'm not able to do it as well. No, it's right here, right now. What is the emotion I'm experiencing? And what is that doing to my thinking process? What is that doing to what I'm doing? What is it doing to my decision, to the way I'm dealing with my team?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely it's not a you've got it or you haven't.
Yeah.
They can be learned. And the other key point is they can be learned and need to be learned incrementally.
Right.
So you and I,
It's a growing process.
just like everything else, you and I have conditioned ourselves up until the age that we are now with our thinking, with our, the beliefs that we have and the skills that we have.
We're on our prime, Grant. Do you think we're in our prime?
I think we're just getting started.
Just getting started.
Like the 60s are the new 40,
Yeah, it
apparently.
is.
Well, and if it's not, I'm proclaiming it now.
Bad, but
It doesn't. It's like when you get up in the morning and people go, what hurts? Everything. But anyway, so it's a matter of incrementally change. So why do I say that? So a lot of work that I do, I work with people that tend to work in a dichotomy, and I see this a lot, where you're either here or you're here.
Yeah.
So I've either got emotional intelligence or I don't, right? No.
it's a journey.
It's a journey, and it's a step-by-step journey. So it's not a, tick the box, hit you with a magic wand, do a course, you've now got it. It's a matter of day by day, doing things differently and building a muscle, just like anything else. People will say to me all the time, they think, as a renowned emotional intelligence speaker and trainer, you must never get
international award.
all those, fantastic things.
Like the APAC Guru of the Year or something.
3 years in a row or something, but all awards are relative. But as someone in business, obviously, I will use that.
Yeah.
But they think, well, you must never get upset, or you must. No, I do.
I get to practice my skill regularly every day.
Exactly. I am in a work in progress, just like everybody else.
Sure.
The difference with me now to how I used to be is I can take those thoughts captive a lot quicker.
Sure.
I can recognize when I'm going down a non-emotionally intelligent path and rein it back in. I can think before I let my, words come out.
Yeah.
That's the difference. But I can go back into my old habits quickly if something, does trigger that.
Yeah.
I'm just more mindful of it now. So it's definitely an incremental journey and a learning process for everyone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can you take this into the leadership context for us? So obviously we have a lot of leaders listening to the program. Why is this an important skill for them to think about?
Yeah, great question. And if I can just sort of put a foundation around that first so that people have an understanding of where I am with leadership. And so for me, my biggest challenge with leadership is that the term leadership is used very broadly, firstly. Secondly, is leadership's been relegated to this set of skills that you need when you have a team that you need to get them to do things. I'll always, when I'm starting with a group of people, the first time I'm with them, I'll say, look, put your hand up if you're a leader. And only the people who have a position of leadership will put their hands up. And the reason why is they don't think that they're there yet. My thinking and experience around that is leadership is actually a set of internal characteristics of a person. So the person of the leader is where we need to start.
Yeah.
And personal leadership is where emotional intelligence fits in.
That's really good, isn't it? Because if you grow as an individual, you grow as a leader.
Yeah. So for me, particularly the area of work around your identity, who you believe you are and who you believe you're not, that determines most of the way that you deal with your people.
Yeah.
So if we look at something like, the reason why people don't delegate, and I use a different word to that, and that's a conversation for another day. But for me, the reason why they don't delegate to other people is that, and busy people who will tell you they're busy say, oh, it's just easy to do it myself.
Yeah.
I know you've never done that. I've never done that, but is they don't trust that the other person will do it in a way that represents them favorably.
Yeah.
That's all to do with your identity. It's got nothing to do with your skills as a leader. So definitely the foundation of all leadership is personal leadership.
Yeah.
Then I talk about professional leadership, and for me, that's how do I get my output that I'm responsible for out of my own work, out of my own energy? And then we have people leadership, which is taking other people on the journey. So
I have the same structure, like lead yourself first and then lead others.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And also in our fast-paced world that we're in, it's not linear. It's at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm leading myself as I'm leading you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and in the context of and the conversation around emotional intelligence, that's where it fits.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence is how do I, navigate going through what goes on for me.
Yeah.
When we get over into the people leadership area, that's where the social intelligence comes in.
Got it.
How do I interact with other people? How do I
That makes
show
sense.
empathy?
Yep.
How do I deal with, conflict, those sort of things? So yeah, definitely, it is very much important with
EI,
leadership.
mindfulness of your own emotions too, and then having a cognitive process to look at that.
Yes.
And then social intelligence, how do you activate that skill set when you're dealing with people, sense of empathy, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, most definitely.
So, because obviously in leadership circles, there's been this rise in EI, often misquoted as EQ. That was my learning for today. But, Stanford going back into the 80s, there was this sort of move as this sort of digital revolution came through. There was a rise in thinking around organizational structure and this move from command and control into things that are a bit more organic and relational and that whole leadership move. How do you see that mapping in as far as this need for EI and SI in a leadership context? So, like, how have you seen the journey in the environment we're operating in that's caused that?
Fantastic. So some of it I haven't seen in the actual journey because I was involved in it. But if we go back to the industrial age, and language is really important. So in the industrial age, we had managers.
Yeah.
Right. And managers knew everything. They just told you what to do and you went and did it. So you didn't have to know anything as a non-manager. And that's where command and control came in. Now, my understanding is, and having had a military career as well, the only place nowadays that command and control needs to stay is in emergency services and the military. It doesn't work anymore. It didn't work all that well back then either, but that's all they had, right?
Yeah.
So it was all about
Brigadier General Chris Murray on the show recently too. So that was great talking a bit about that.
oh, cool.
And you do have that misnomer, don't you, of command and control, but underneath that needs to be lots of empowerment and thinking and on the ground changes.
Oh,
Which
no, definitely.
But you're right. So yes, Industrial Revolution, very command and control, very linear, very mechanical, industrial mindset.
Yeah, I know you do. Simple. Then we went into the information age. The World Wide Web opened everything up and everything was at our fingertips. So now everyone knows. It's like consumers today. They know everything they need to know before they come to buy your product, right? So it's changed the landscape. So bringing the way we managed people into that process is not going to work the same.
Sure.
We then went into what I call the imagination age. This is where we didn't know enough. Even though all the information's out there, we still didn't have certainty. We moved into the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And a leader needed to realize, and they still do, that they're not going to get all the answers. So we had to make some stuff up. We had to imagine it. We had to be innovative.
Yeah.
Now I believe we've moved into what I call the intelligence age. Now we've got AI.
It's a great way to describe it.
Well, it is. And as you can tell, I love alliteration, helps me to remember things. So in the intelligence age, we've now gone beyond the imagination age.
We're right in that position now, aren't we, really?
Very much so. And I think this is really important. So a couple of things have happened. We had that thing, some pandemic or something a few years ago, which changed the landscape.
Yeah, it's vaguely familiar. Yes.
And coming out of that, the people that people were listening to in organizations around the world came up and had this epiphany. They said emotional intelligence is now the number one skill for leaders. I think now that I know about it, I think it always has been. But now even more with AI and people having concerns around that.
Sure.
and about themselves,
Big topic.
etc. We've got both generative AI, we've got conversational AI. To work with that, more than ever now, we need that human element.
Yeah.
We need the emotional, human-to-human interaction to be even stronger than what it was before, and that's where the emotional intelligence and the social intelligence comes in. So right now, it's more important than ever in my experience.
That's really interesting insight, actually, because everyone's talking about the AI side, mechanical, increase of productivity and efficiency and everything. But no one's really talking about that, the human-centric piece, the ability to differentiate from AI and add value at that social relationship type level.
Yeah. And I just had a thought then as you were saying that. I have, even in my workings of using AI myself, I've been teaching ChatGPT to be more emotionally intelligent as they're going, as it's going through.
How's it going for you?
Oh, it's going great. They'll do me out of a role.
Yeah.
But no, it is so much important because, and even beyond that, the fact that a lot of people think that they're going to lose their jobs, that everything's changing, and the world's going to be totally different, and there's a lot more anxiety, and that is emotional. So in being able to not just compensate for the way that AI works with what we do, it also is an antidote to that anxiety.
Sure.
Because it all comes from that, who we are, that emotional being. If you've got a lot of certainty and confidence, which comes out of the competency of personal power, which is in the self-awareness, in emotional intelligence, then you know that you've got everything within you and around you to get ahead in life, and everything's going to be fine. So just because AI has come in, you're not going to think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's vitally important that we work on this now. It is.
It is. Because just thinking about that for a moment, if you think about the Industrial Revolution as we no longer need bodies, if you like, because there's now machines that are doing what we were doing physically in the farms and things. And then into the industrial complex where people were doing things in factories, then that's become less and less. It was almost like the outsourcing of physical labor. AI, if you think about that as outsourcing of intellectual capability, there's the only human foil to that is emotions and what it is to actually be really human. So EI and SI become the only differentiating factor from everybody's got intelligence because everyone will have access to AI. So we don't know what this is going to look like in the future. We don't. We can have an idea, but that sort of the human element, what you're talking about around the self-awareness and emotions and the ability to be able to connect with people through social intelligence, that's the only human factor that will be left if we have hyper-intelligence available to us through artificial means.
Look, definitely. And some people...
I'm scaring myself now.
Well, some people will disagree with us. They'll say that we can teach AI to be emotional and have emotions and whatever. And that may or may not be true, but it's learned emotion. See, nothing that AI does, it makes up itself.
Sure.
Well, from what they've told me at the moment, all right? If we watch a few more Terminator movies or whatever.
Invented or discovered,
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's still someone else's voice. It's still coming. So yeah, that deep human psyche, that separation that we have is not going to change.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is we're talking about, EI and SI and, generative AI and conversational AI. It's the same thing as I was saying before about IQ and EQ. It's not a matter of
not either or.
Either or. We've now got to, as leaders, go, well, how do we bring those together?
Both and.
And particularly, how do we make sure, because most of us are in human to human, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We talk about B2B and B2C. I don't use those. I rather H to H. So that human interaction, we've got to go, okay, how does me as a company using AI, how does that make my client feel? That's a conversation that I have to have.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a matter of how do we bring them all in together. We didn't have it before. We do now. In fact, people get thinking AI is all new and whatever. And I say that, when was the first time you used Google to find out something?
Yeah.
That was AI. It's just that the rhetoric and the conversation now is all around AI as being this big thing.
Yeah.
It's, front of mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do we as a leader, and it's not something else we need to do, it's concurrent activity, right?
Sure.
How do we make sure that we keep the emotional side of things going in this age?
So how does that work? So I'm a leader on bit command and control. I'm not necessarily particularly good relationally, and every so often my emotions get the best of me. I'm shouting at people in corridors and generally doing things I'm not meant to be doing. Apart from the sort of obvious of I'm going to be more reasonable to be around, what advantage do you think it is of a leader recognizing there's a bit of an issue, or there's an advantage to be had by being better at this? What does that look like as he or she goes down that journey where start adopting these things? What sort of fruit do you think comes out of that? What makes them a better leader if they go down this track?
Yeah, I love that. Because, for me, as an adult educator, one thing I learned years ago is that there's got to be a reason for the other person to want to make the change. So yeah, what is in it for them? Well, if I can answer that firstly by my own experience, I said before, like when I found out about EI, I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Yeah, you've had quite a journey in this, haven't you?
I've had quite a long journey now. If I go back into my corporate career and my military career before that, as I said, I didn't have any, right? Didn't have any understanding.
Tanks. You're in tanks.
I was in tanks, yes.
That's the real
really,
stuff.
really enjoyed that, blowing things up. I really thought long and hard about something I could do after I left the Defence Force.
Right.
Not many jobs out there for tank commanders, but anyway, that's okay. So I know that when I was being a leader that didn't have any, I might have been abrasive and it might have been, a problem for them, but I was exhausted. I didn't like myself. I didn't go home feeling good after an interaction like that. I tell people all the time about abrasive leaders. People don't get up of a morning unless they have a clinical problem or a part of their brain has been removed or whatever.
There's a few sociopaths in leadership.
There's a
I
few.
don't know if you've noticed that.
There's a few. But unless they're physically that's the case, people don't get up in the morning and go, yes, I get to go to work today and be nasty to people and shout at them. And it just doesn't happen.
Sure.
It comes out of how they feel about themselves. Now, when you're in it, when a leader is being abrasive and, talking down to you or yelling at you or whatever way they're manifesting, it is challenging to do what I'm about to ask you to do. And that is to show them some empathy as well. Because you're in it, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it's coming from. So how it helps is as you go on the journey of developing emotional intelligence, you're going to uncover what are the limiting beliefs that you've picked up over the years? What are the things that you've hardwired into your brain as being true that are perhaps not true about you, about yourself? Because that's where the behavior comes from. So it's going to help you as well. If I look at my career was like a roller coaster. What had happened is I was very good at what I did technically, always, right? The reason I was that way is because I was trying to prove myself being good enough. Right? There's 3 universal fears that every person on the planet operates out of. The fear of not belonging, fear of not being enough, and the fear of not being loved. And, for those of you who read my book, you'll see the story in there of where at a particular part of my life, at 15, I decided I was worthless. So having that own opinion of myself meant that I had to always prove myself. And it was in that proving of myself that the poor behavior came out. So it wasn't anything to do with you or whoever it was. It was about how I felt about myself. So being able to get a hold of that, shift that, and change that, and have a different opinion of who I am, what I'm capable of, what I'm worthy of, changed the way that I led. And that all comes through building your emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So there's a big win. I like the triple win. So it's a win for the other person, it's a win for you, and it's a win for the greater good.
Right.
And in most cases, in the conversation we're having here, the organization. How many times have you been in your experience, and I'm talking to the people out there as well, where you've been in a meeting and there's just two people like going at it,
Yeah.
like, and you're just sort of like an innocent bystander just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
Mind you, in my corporate career, I wasn't one of the bystanders. I was normally one of the two that were
Active
into it.
engagement.
I was actively engaged, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no half measures.
Yep.
But that affects
Totally.
what goes on. Attraction and retention of good people costs a lot of money and a lot of time, a lot of energy.
Sure.
And we've all heard it, when people don't leave, they don't leave organizations.
Yeah.
I say they leave
managers.
They leave toxic relationships.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's very underrated, I think. And the costs involved in doing that are huge.
Yeah.
But that's quite challenging for a leader to go, man, I've got to start thinking about how I think and how I feel. And I've got things that's a lot of self-reflection and time and discipline to do that. And where do people start with something like that?
Yeah, I love that. So for me, and that's what I love about the 26 competencies, 13 in emotional intelligence, 13 in social intelligence that I've been exposed to, is you start at the start, right? There's some rocket science.
not
There's
bad
some
place
rocket
to
science there.
Start.
So, and the first competency is emotional self-awareness. So it's being able to, and you're right, you need to give it some time. You need to have some space to be able to recognize it. So it does mean that you change the way that you think. But going, right, okay, right here, right now, what am I experiencing?
Yeah.
What am I thinking? And being able to take that captive if it's thinking that normally takes you down the path of, of poor behavior. So it's, as I said, that it's simple steps. I understand what you're saying, because people go, oh, it's just something else, and it also can help.
Pretty confronting too, I think.
Look, it can be, because it also is, oh, here's some more stuff that I'm not good at, which then erodes the platform of identity even further.
Yep.
So it's all perpetuating. But it's just going, what can I do differently this week? I'm big on language, as I said, right?
Sure.
And one of the things
it's such an important thing, isn't it?
Oh, look, it is, because the way the brain works, as it comes to the neuroscience nerd again, it's using words that we used for years that mean something to us.
Yeah.
We could perhaps shift those. And one of those words is should, and another one's better.
Right.
So a leader should have emotional intelligence. Well, that's a judgment, right? What could you do as a leader if you were more emotionally intelligent?
Yeah.
Could is an opportunity word.
Sure.
And the other word's differently. Right? Instead of doing it better, which is another judgment, it wasn't good enough before.
Yeah.
Okay, how can we do this differently?
You mentioned you had an alternative word for delegation.
Yeah. Yeah. So
how do you phrase that in this sense?
Okay, so firstly, why do I have a different word?
Yeah.
So if we looked at that timeline I talked about, going from the industrial age through to, the intelligence age now, unfortunately, a lot of us are still being exposed to leadership training that was back then.
So true.
Things like time management. You're not able to manage time. What you are able to manage are expectations, your environment, and your energy. So new language and new focus for a new age. Right? So delegation, as I said before, delegation is something that is based on trust. And a lot of people tell you, and it's very common, oh, I'm not a very good delegator. Or they'll say it about someone else, oh, they don't delegate well, right? So it's another one of those things that, it's on my bad list. I want to shift my thinking around that. So with my team, I don't delegate stuff to them. I use it as an opportunity to develop them. A lot of people get concerned in their career that they're stuck. They can't go up, right? The reason is you haven't taught enough people yet so that we can replace you with them so you can.
Do yourself out of a role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also the fear in that. What if I teach them how to do what I do?
Sure.
They'll take my job.
Yeah.
So it's recognizing that you're not delegating, you're developing them. It's an opportunity to train. So if I've got someone that is going to be doing something for me, what I like to do is do a 3-part process. sit down,
Mm.
and I'm going to do it, and you're going to watch me. Then you're going to do it with me watching you and here to help you as we go. But then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll check it later if it's needed.
Yeah.
So what does that do for me? Well, firstly, it builds someone in my team who can do that as well, which means I can actually have a break or a holiday or something at some point.
Exactly.
And there's someone else. But also, more importantly for me, it develops that person. They've now got a skill that they didn't have before.
Yeah. And there's a multiplying effect in that.
There definitely is. So being able to shift that and go, no, I'm not. It's part of my role as a leader to develop my people.
Yeah.
To give them opportunities to grow.
Absolutely.
Now, I didn't do that when I was a corporate leader.
Yeah.
Because if a Mark Bilton came into my world those days and he was coming into the same company as me, I would see you as a threat. I'd go, this guy's as good as me. In fact, I think he's probably better than me. And I'd see you as a threat. So I would make sure that I did everything to make you invisible.
Right.
Just stifle. I didn't do it consciously. It was all subconscious coming out of how I felt about myself. But I would squash you down, bury me so no one saw you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That sort of thinking wasn't good for me. It certainly wasn't good for the other person.
Sure.
And I wasn't doing my role as a leader. So nowadays, I invest all my energy in making other people look good. Even when I go into an organization, I don't go in there to get, pats on the back and awards and all that sort of stuff. They're great. I go in there to empower other people. And I tell my clients all the time, my role is to get you to a point where you don't need me anymore.
Right.
Which is not very clever commercially.
No, it's good though, isn't it? I think that,
but it is
definitely something.
That's my role.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. I think it's a good life lesson. It applies for most things. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And the nice paradox about that is you tend to get more opportunities if you do that.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
So in I train YPO forums to connect with each other, and in the YPO protocol, it's a confidential environment. So 6 to 8 leaders get together once a month. They shifted some of the protocol off the back of Stanford rethinking about the importance of emotion, connection with emotions, and those things, as that was kind of in ascendancy. And so they changed some of the protocol so that in the midst of the forum, you're doing some self-curiosity. Like, what memories are coming up for me? What emotions are coming up for me? And you're not giving advice, you're sharing experiences. So there's an emotional component to that. But a big chunk of that is, I'm hearing your story. Why am I thinking about that memory and what emotion is coming up for me? So there's this whole introspection cycle. So that's an EI experience doing that.
Yeah, look, it is. And it's like storytelling. The purpose of me telling a story is not for you to hear my story.
Sure.
It's to allow you to open your thinking and put your story in there of the same context.
Yeah.
So yeah, most definitely. And all those, the thing that you look at, and if I give you a list and more than happy to put in the notes or whatever, as a resource for people to have, if you have a look at what the competencies are of both emotional and social intelligence, they are what most people would recognize as soft skills. So you look at interpersonal effectiveness, you look at communication, conflict management, those sort of things.
Yeah.
So they're the skills that we're already developing. So emotional intelligence has such a vast, effect on everything that we're doing.
Totally.
So it's challenging to, if you were to ask me a question, to say no, that it doesn't come into emotional intelligence. And the reason is that the foundation is the person of the leader who is an emotional being.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that taking that having discipline of what am I feeling and why am I feeling that, pulls it into the cognitive side of things.
Yeah.
And certainly in YPO, we know that if people do that, connect with emotions, how am I feeling today? Or what's coming up for me? Then they tend to be more authentic, be much more willing to be vulnerable, and they have higher levels of empathy, and they'll listen more deeply.
Yeah.
Which I think are essential leadership skills, particularly as you describe the reshaping of the business environment, the speed with which everything is changing. The old command and control stuff doesn't work anymore. And so that ability to be able to have good relationships, be authentic in the way you connect with other people in business environments that are much more ecosystems than industrial structures. That becomes like mission critical, I think, as a leader.
Oh, look, definitely. And I think it's going to be even more so as, you know, things change. It's not
It's
just
not going
because
away, is it?
it's not just 'cause I'm
No,
getting older. It's like things just go so much,
100%.
I mean, who plans for 10 years nowadays?
Yeah, well, we don't know. We really don't.
Got no
Genuinely
clue.
don't know. It's like
It could change tomorrow.
we bumped into the AI thing because I think it's interesting and it's very much, I think AI and EI, these are actually intrinsically linked in,
Hmm.
in a lot of
Definitely.
ways with a changing environment. But we don't know what that's going to look like in 5 to 10 years' time. So we have to get on the train and go there and be adaptable enough to be able to maximize the opportunity and deal with the issues that might come with that. But I think this piece you talked about in the imagination side of things, in the intelligence side of things, where AI is one side of that coin, EI and social intelligence in the broader context is the other side of that.
Yes.
So if you maximize on this will happen anyway. But if you dial up on the EI and the SI, you're going to get a better outcome, regardless of what that environment's going to be like.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's a fascinating time. And you've written a book as well.
I have.
About all this, which I have here, professional services leadership. We'll put a link in there for people to grab this because I think super, super important. Such a timely inclusion in people's reading library because it is impacting everybody and will continue to do so. So what drove you to write a book? I know you're out there talking to people all the time and you've got lots of clients all around the world actually, haven't you?
Yeah, I do a lot
East.
of work, and over the years, a lot of the work that I do is in professional services firms. So,
Yeah.
just as I'm going on to that, the 9 shifts leadership that I developed is what the book's all around, and emotional intelligence is a big part of that.
Sure.
So you could even read that book if you're not in
Okay.
professional services.
So the EI and SI is just a part of this?
It's just a part
So
of it.
could you
Yeah.
just give us an idea of maybe that broader context?
Okay, so firstly, and I've talked about some of it today already. So firstly, what I do is get us back to the right thinking around, or my right thinking around what leadership is, and then looking at shifting, and everything that I talk about is a shift, and going from the transactional manager, because I believe you
Sure.
manage process, but you've got to lead people, right? So going
100%.
from transactional management to transformational leadership.
Love that.
And then I break it down into the personal, professional, and people leadership, as I talked about. And within each of those, there are 3 shifts at a broad level that we need to go through in, today's world. If we look at the personal area, I talked about it already, it's identity. And the shift there is to go from being conflicted as who I am to being congruent and being okay and allowing to be authentic in that. Intelligence is the second part of that, going from that singular intelligence to multiple intelligence.
Yeah.
And intention's another. And then stepping, right through those 9 shifts in those 3 areas.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and those are, I've written this book in the context of a professional services environment.
Yeah.
However, the shifts are for every leader.
I was going to say that they're pretty
Yeah.
universal, aren't
They
they?
are.
I know you specialize in this area and you do it very, very well.
And why did I write the book?
Yeah. So why did you write the book, Grant?
Yeah, I just realized I didn't answer the question. Okay, so I have always been a bit of a disruptor. I also always want to zig when other people are zagging. I don't want to be, the same. I want to stand out. That's, what we do. And for me, lots of people in the industry that I'm working in, they all value writing a book. So I thought, no, I'm going to demonstrate. So for me, when you work with me, it's experiential.
Sure.
I tell people, I'm going to take you on a journey of imperfection that I've gone through, right? And in doing that, I want to be really, authentic. So I don't want to give you a book so that I've got credibility.
Sure.
So I, for years, said,
So
people ask me, right, where is your book?
Yeah.
And I go, I haven't written one.
Yeah.
Can I have a copy of your book? Yes, if I ever write one, I'll get you a copy, right? So this year, back in April,
Mm.
I decided I'm going to take what I know and what I've done and what I've developed, I'm going to put it into a book.
Mm.
So it wasn't a matter of writing the book. It was just putting what I want to get out there, my message,
Yeah.
in another format.
Love it.
Right. So that's the reason
Yeah.
that I wrote the book.
So this is encapsulates pretty much what you're doing as far as the professional services.
Yeah, and I've written it in a way that it's experiential and conversational. It's not it's not a textbook or a white paper.
Yeah.
It allows people to reflect as they're going through it.
Totally.
And yeah, so
And
people are
you make it
enjoying
very
it. So,
accessible too. I like all the models and the diagrams and there's great ways to communicate that. And I quite like that.
yeah, well, I've had to learn over the years, and this, by the way, is another social intelligence skill around communication. I've had to learn that people learn differently and people need different processes. So for me, what I've done is I've put the auditory words in there for those who need that. I've put a lot of visual in there for people who need that as well. But I've taken people on a journey. Like for me, and you've probably already heard this in this conversation, if I didn't have you here, I'd be going all over the shop. I have been anyway, is people need a logical sequence
Absolutely.
of thinking and, well, what do I do now?
Because there's a lot in this, isn't there? It's
yes.
a big topic.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime journey.
Yeah.
So no, I like the way you've broken it down and made it lots of a lot of iterations in triplets. Which is
I love alliteration. It helps me.
Yeah.
I love the power of three. The subconscious mind apparently loves nines, threes, and sevens or something. So that really does work well for me. And
you and I both hung out in Tiger Moore as well from time to time.
we did, and Matt Church as well,
Yep.
and Simon Bowen. All these guys are just like models are so important, and yeah, they're great. Anything that's going to help someone get the value of what I'm able to do, because at the end of the day, I'm just an ordinary guy. I got an outstanding wife. I got 5 amazing kids, 5 exceptional grandkids at the time that we're doing this.
Right.
Now, I put my pants on one leg at a time most mornings, just like everybody else. And the reason I say that is sometimes when you're an expert in your field, what others can do, and I know I do this, is you can disassociate from what they're teaching and go, oh, it's all right for him.
Yeah.
Like Mark Bilton, he's the leadership expert, right? He's the strategic strategy. Like, I don't know that stuff. So for me, I've made the book vulnerable and authentic.
Nice.
And by the way, vulnerability is a part of emotional intelligence.
Totally.
It's up there, if we're going to separate it, as, right up there with emotional intelligence as being the number one skill of a leader. But it wasn't that way years ago. It was like
very underrated.
Vulnerability,
don't do it, don't show
open the door, people are going to,
take advantage
and whatever. But now, being able to realize as a leader, which has come with maturity, not just in age, maturity through this process of being okay that I don't know it all and I don't have to. There are going to be people that I lead that know more than me about things that I don't know about, and that's okay. Only always, yeah. Right? And not to think of that as being a comparison, because comparison's the biggest dream stealer there ever has been.
Absolutely.
It's not going to diminish me. If I can actually bring that out of someone in my team, that's going to build me up.
Yeah.
It's not taking away from me. So the experience that I get to take people through, it's an honor, I feel, to be able to, because this affects not just your work life, right?
Sure.
You take who you are home.
Yeah.
Right? Take it out on the dog.
Always.
Right? Or whoever. For me, I always remember I have bad days, just like I'm thinking you might as well. I was going to say, I hope you do. I didn't mean it that way.
Never have a bad day.
Some days I go, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Right? And I remember I got a Christmas card from a client's wife, senior partner that I was working with. And I keep it. And every now and then I pull it out. And this is just one of a few things that I've got like this. And she thanked me for working with her husband. She said, because it's not only changed his life, it's changed our kid's life and it's changed my life. And she said, I've even started implementing some of the stuff that you're teaching him, and our whole family is so much stronger now. We can go on a holiday and he turns his phone off at the airport and doesn't turn it back on until we get back.
Yeah.
You know, you and I get an opportunity, and all leaders get an opportunity
Absolutely.
to help people better their lives.
Yeah.
That to me is the gift that I get.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that motivates me too. I think if I can impact a leader, not impacting them and their family, but hundreds of other people usually.
And generations.
Because they have, absolutely.
Yeah, if you can break
Yeah.
a generational, belief, like around if
My own life.
because I know in my own parenting, right? By the way, I don't beat myself up about this anymore because I did as well as I could with what I knew and who I was.
Sure.
But being able to work on that, and by the way, I'm visual, which is every time I go down there, I'm talking about identity.
Right.
In my model, that's where identity is, right?
Yeah.
So if I go to that foundation and I have a look at what I've been able to shift in my own thinking and beliefs and pass on to my children and to their children, that's changing generations, not just mine. And I'm 63 is the time we're doing this.
Yeah.
I'm still learning every day, right? Every single day I'm still learning. I'm so happy that I feel free to know that I'm never going to know it all.
Absolutely.
And I don't need to. I just need to know my bit that I'm supposed to share with others.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's...
I like it. It's an important thing. I get a great deal of satisfaction out of seeing that generational shift as well. And it's pretty special, isn't it?
It is.
And I think this as far as leadership's concerned around particularly AI and social intelligence. When I talked about YPO, largest leadership organization on the planet, average size business about 250 million US. Combined GDP's equivalent to like the second largest country in the world. So some of the best leaders in the world are being taught this is a really important thing. And there's levels of vulnerability and empathy and self-curiosity and EI is important. So if people of that ilk and influence are doing this, regardless of whether running a small business or a large business, should absolutely be looking at doing something on this journey to begin walking down that path of being more competent in this area.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree.
Yeah. We also talk about living well here. You're a busy man, you're flying around the world, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, you're having to deal with lawyers every day. I mean, professional services, you could have picked yourself an easier target than trying to teach lawyers emotional intelligence. But you've got a lot going on. You had challenges and things as well. How do you sort of manage life, relationships, health, when there's so much demand on your time?
Great question. And the first answer to that is sometimes not very well, right?
It's when you figure that out, let us know.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
we're all trying to figure that out to one degree or another, and that's part of what
most definitely. However, once again, and I'm going to point down here again, until we get to the point where we make ourselves, this is controversial for some people, we make ourselves our number one priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it's not going to matter, right? So I look at things differently. So I talk about the fact that I've got amazing grandkids, right?
Awesome.
When my first grandchild came, that changed the way I thought about my health.
Isn't that interesting?
Because I want to live long enough
to
see my grandchildren grow up.
Yeah.
Our grandchildren change your life. I mean, they are.
Yeah, I haven't quite got there yet.
They're
I'm still trying to give away
my grandchildren are the best, right?
Yeah.
And poor children think, oh, you never let me get away with that stuff. Well,
everyone I know that's become a grandparents, because of a generation where that's starting to happen, all say exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so coming back to you answering your question. So
that changed your mindset.
It changed my mindset. Okay.
Around your health.
Around my health. Yeah. Right. Around my longevity.
Yeah.
Around my purpose. Right. But I also have accountability. Right. I empower my children that if I'm off track, that they're okay. And they obviously do it respectfully.
Sure.
To go, hey, Dad, when are we going to see you at home? And I remember when my eldest daughter was 15, I was in corporate role, earning big dollars, traveling around, thought I was great. And it was sort of filling a need in my identity.
Sure.
So I was working harder than I probably needed to. And my daughter rang me, and I'm in Canberra, and we live in Sydney, and I was in Canberra, and doing something very important. My daughter said, "When are you coming home, Dad?" And I said, "Honey, I've got to get this work done. I'll be home, blah, blah." I said, "Sweetheart, I've just put a new pool in for you in the backyard and I've done this." And this is what she said to me. She said, "Dad, fill it in if it means I get you to come home and we get to spend more time." And it was like a dagger to the heart, right? But it was what I needed to hear.
Yep.
So vulnerability is so important, and being open and honest and like letting people, my wife and I have a great relationship. Like she'll say to me, "Hey," and I remember there was this one time a number of years ago, and I got really ill, and you'll understand why in a moment. So I went from, and it's a while ago now, so I mightn't get it exactly right, but I flew from Sydney to Singapore to 3 cities in India. And then I came back to Singapore, and then I came back to Sydney. And then 4 days later, I went to Dubai for 3 days, came back to Sydney. Somewhere in the next week or so, I flew to Singapore again, to Chennai in India, back to Singapore, back home. And then I flew to Auckland, and then I came back home. So in a 3-week period,
It's a lot.
and I went to the doctor because I wasn't feeling very well. And the doctor goes, "Do you realize what you've just done to your body?"
Yeah, totally.
And my wife said to me, because I was just doing it, she said, "Can you just like go away for 2 weeks, but then come home for 6?" And it was pretty smart the way she did. But what I was doing is I was allowing my business to control me rather than me control my business.
Yeah.
So nowadays,
Happens a lot.
it does. And there's reasons for that, right? It was a lot earlier in the business.
Yeah,
And, if a client says they want you, you're thinking you're going to get paid, so you'll do it, right? I can say no in the right way nowadays. I can say it at the right time. I can say, yes, I can do that for you. I'm going to be here. I can do it then. So it's taking back more control over what I allow people, or how I allow people to utilize me. So it comes back to, self-care is not selfish.
100%. Looking after number one is not.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, I love this. I always talk about
allows you to then look after other people.
Exactly. We've all heard these things. You cannot, serve from an empty vessel, all those sort of things. They're not just little sayings. They're so true, right? Because I got to a point where I just was physically and emotionally and mentally spent.
Yep.
I had adrenal fatigue. I was up at the 27th floor of 123 Pitt Street. I was doing an amazing session with a group of law firm partners. I loved the work that I do. And all of a sudden, I felt like there was something not right. Right? And it was more than an emotion that I was experiencing. But what did I do? Of course. No, of course I stopped and said, "Sorry, I'm not feeling." No, I just kept going. Why?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them to think that I wasn't good enough. I wanted them to work with me. But when I finished, I shook their hand and they put me into the elevator. I always wonder why they take me to the lift. I don't know whether they're making sure I leave the building or whatever it is. But I got in there, and as soon as those elevator doors closed, and there was no one else in there, I allowed myself to think, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? I had several other meetings. I went and tried to start the next one. I literally got up in the middle of that meeting, didn't even explain to the person. I walked, I got back on the train, I went home. And it took me the next 6 months finding out what wasn't wrong with me, but it got my attention.
Sure.
I had stage 3 adrenal fatigue. I didn't even know what that was. Stage 4 apparently is death. So it got my attention. And I thought, if you want to spend time with your grandkids, if you want to
That's kind of the burnout of
fulfill your legacy that that's on your life, you need to change the way you do things. The other thing is I'm very practical with this stuff.
Okay.
Like if you look at my calendar, you would probably laugh. People would laugh. I color code everything. So I'm a visual person. So for me in my calendar, I have green, which for me is health and vitality. So the first thing I put in my calendar is green.
I'm so glad you said that. I've always done that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't. It's something I had to learn to do.
And this is from very early on
because I got really sick.
Thing was
Yeah.
that clarity of priorities.
Yes.
Boundaries, which you're talking about.
Yeah.
Boundaries, clarity, just those are more important.
Yes.
Looking after yourself first so you can look after other people. Absolutely. I used to lock those things in. Date nights, gym, all those things.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realized how little time you actually have to do other things.
Exactly.
If you put those priorities in place,
But what's the alternative? The alternative is, oh, try and find time for those,
which you don't.
which you don't, right?
Absolutely.
Which then you have daughters saying, fill the pool in, which is what I went through, and it was a wake-up call. So then I have, so that's me. So you talk about date night and different things, which I know, involves Helen as well, and it is for you as well. But just no, what are the things just for me? And I actually have blocked out in my calendar all through the week in capital letters, me time.
Oh, nice.
The next color is royal blue.
And what does that mean for you? Like,
Well, me time means nothing.
Jill.
It can be anything. It can be, sometimes it could be binge watching a Netflix series, or whatever. It doesn't. I don't have to. People think that doing nothing is doing nothing. It's not. It's actually replenishing.
Sure.
So I shifted my mindset.
White space. Got a white space.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you don't have any space, then you're going to break. So then I got blue, and this royal blue color, because I see my family as being royal blue. That's family time.
Nice.
I put that in as well. And then I put in different, things and everything else. So the reason I do that is I can visually look at my calendar and it can tell me whether or not I'm looking after myself and whether or not I'm staying true to the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And it becomes self-policing too, doesn't it?
It does.
You look at, so can I see you on Tuesday? Not this week, but next week, yeah.
Exactly.
And you actually, because whereas normally your first reaction, if there's space there, is go, yeah, no problem.
Well, remember that ad years ago? It was for something I can't remember. It was for lamb. And the young lady rang into the radio station and they said, "You've won a dinner with Tom Cruise on Tuesday night." And she said, "No, sorry, I can't. Mum's cooking a lamb roast." Oh, and it was funny, right? But
They should bring that back. That's good.
It's a fantastic way of looking at it because that's the thing. Now, does it mean I'm always perfect with this? No, because life happens.
It's not about being perfect though, is it?
No, that's never a goal, right?
Yeah, like
I always tell people there's only ever been one perfect person on the planet. They crucified him.
Yeah.
So perfection is not the goal.
No.
But what it allows me to do, right, is to be flexible. As a business owner, I can do that. So my kids are grown up now. When they were at school, I wanted to go to their soccer matches and their presentations at school and whatever, and I could do that. But now what I can do is look at it and go, you know what, I've got a lot of orange, which is my primary color for my business, in there. I need to make sure that in the next couple of weeks, I've got a lot more blue and a lot more green.
Yeah.
So it's about shifting and changing. And something I learned from someone years ago, which I'd love to be able to give them the credit for, I can't think right now.
That was me, Grant.
Would have been you, is a thing called buffer time. And buffer time, my team use it, all my clients use it, has really, really helped me with this. So buffer time could be different for you than it is for me. I get people to start with half an hour a day. So you block out in your workday at least half an hour if you can, that hasn't got anything allocated to it. So that when something happens, you've got some flexibility.
Sure. That in the system.
Now, I've never, ever, in my time I've been using this for many years now, I've never been able to put my feet up on the desk and go, buffer time. There's always been something to fill it with. And if something doesn't happen, all I do is take something from tomorrow and get started now. So it releases that pressure.
Right.
So that's, so other than that, I'm very regular at going to, which apparently men aren't, going for all my checkups and all the things I need to do. I've made health a priority. And the reason I've done that, and this is where the vulnerability comes in, is I've realized that I'm worthy of getting old and enjoying life.
Exactly.
Right? So I've worked on the identity. Now, all this boundary setting, priorities, all those sort of things are in that.
Important,
They're in that first area. They're in that personal power. They're in the intention of, what do I get up of a morning for?
Yep.
Even though I love what I do, it's not to teach leaders. That's not why I get out of bed. There's a higher purpose goal that I have. It's a vehicle that is a part of that.
Yep.
And it's one that fits my values and my ethics, right? But staying true to that, what you said the word before, priorities. I know that there's a lot of people that'll be listening to this, that'll be thinking, I'd love to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
And what I want to make sure is it's not another opportunity for you to feel bad about yourself. Because I used to do that. Like, I'm a bad parent because I don't allocate time for my kids. No, the intent when I was away as a corporate executive, doing what I was doing, was not to stay away from my children. I was actually doing it because I love my family. I wanted to give them a lifestyle that I know that they deserve. But it was counterintuitive.
Sure.
I was actually giving up what I was doing it for to do it.
We don't think about those things.
We don't, unless something happens. Unless we've got, which I've got in my life, mentors that can go, hey, yeah, this is happening.
Yeah.
And give you that revelation. Or having that reflection time yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with reflection time, though, is it can do what I was saying before. It can make you, and we're doing this just in December, which is, close to the Christmas. This is the time of the year where most people separate in their marriages, etc., where they make decisions that are not perhaps good ones about their career, etc., because there's something about a year where people go, where have I come this year?
Yeah.
Have I advanced at all? So the thinking, changes. And the problem with reflection,
Good time of
it is a great time to reflect.
review, yeah.
However, and I learnt this from Taki actually, what we call forward focus reflection.
Yeah.
So when people reflect, what normally happens when they've got a low emotional intelligence, a low personal power, is they reflect, and all it does is gives them more evidence of how bad they are and their weaknesses and whatever. So instead of it being a catalyst to doing differently moving forward, it actually erodes the foundation even more. So looking at
interesting.
what happened this year, what happened this week, what happened today, what worked, what went well, what didn't work that I can do differently moving forward. What went well, we'll keep doing that. So it's forward focus. So only looking, I like to use the analogy of driving in a car. So you've got two pieces of glass that we'll talk about. We've got, the windscreen or the windshield in some of the countries I work in. It's huge. Then you've got this little bit of glass up there called the rear view mirror, or the rear vision mirror. And they're in that proportion on purpose.
Yeah.
Because the main focus needs to be where we're going.
Yeah.
And every now and then we have a pop-up to see, what's happened behind us or what's coming up from
That's
behind.
why you shouldn't put accountants in charge of companies. They drive using the
Rear vision mirror. Exactly.
That's terrible, isn't it? I should apologize to all the
Well, that is general. It's a generalization,
there's
in fact, you're talking about accountants.
apart from all the commercial ones that listen to this program.
Exactly. And I know you weren't, you were generalizing, because here's the thing. When I first started, because you said I picked a tough profession, the thin threads, like I came out of the corporate world. I got spat out in a multinational merger, right? And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to take what I know and what I do and what I love to do, and I'm going to go and start my own business. It's pretty scary.
Sure.
And it started okay, but then I met this guy, and he said to me, I'm going to be your first client. And I think you've actually met Peter. But he came on one of our calls when you and I used to have those calls, Peter Johnson, and he's an amazing guy. And he is trained as an accountant, but he works with accountants, and he's a self-managed super fund expert, and he can quote the SIS Act, and he's an amazing guy. He's so good at what he does. So I thought, well, that'll do. I'll work with accountants. And I worked with some accountants, and that was okay. And then I thought, who else? And through that, I met some lawyers. And I, in fact, loved the fact that lawyers were so driven and this, that, and the other. And I thought, oh, that's good as well. And then I found out that the statistics of mental health in law, 1 in 5 in the Australian general population suffered distress to the point of a mental illness.
Wow.
In law, 1 in 2.
That's wild.
And that's why I went over to law. People ask me, well, why do you work with lawyers? And this is lawyers asking me this, right? Their worst propaganda comes from within. And because there's such a big need, to do that. Anyway.
Go on, Grant.
Yeah.
So you get a sense of purpose out of that.
I do.
Very aware of your health. I love the thing about the legacy piece. Super important. I do an exercise with leaders when I get them together. Make them sort of lie on the ground and think about their funerals, which sounds like a crazy, wild thing. Yes. And there's a bit like eyes like that. Is that pre-permission and everything? But the clarity that they get by just considering what it's like to be in that position, looking back to what are their current priorities, and they do some self-reflection and look at what priority should I have given that self-reflection, that perspective, and they all shift away from business and away from money to family and health. universally.
Yeah.
So overall, I think in general, we probably don't focus enough on ourselves and our health and family and relationships, and too much on the energy of work. And we do it because we love it and we're kind of driven by it. But
Well, that's what we
when
tell us. That's
we
that's
tell
what we tell
ourselves that,
ourselves is why we do it.
there's probably some much deeper reasons for that, as you articulated earlier. But taking that opportunity to have a broader perspective, a longer term think and look back and consider legacy is super, super important.
Yeah, most definitely.
Grant, so good to see you today. Thank you so much for coming down. It's wonderful to see you. I've enjoyed the conversation beforehand. And I think we're going to do the Monday Movement podcast as well, because I know you've got a whole journey in that space as well, which we'd love to talk to you about. This book, if you haven't seen this book or you haven't got it, go get it. Everyone needs to be on this EI journey. So we'll have links for this in all the bump below the line. Is there anything else you would say to leaders to encourage them to get into this space?
Yeah, look, I was going to start with this, so I'll finish with it. Today's leaders need to be taught to lead in today's world.
Love it.
So making sure that it's a journey. It's not a destination. Leadership is something that's going to evolve as things change. So living in a dichotomy is not going to work. And the big thing is cut yourself some slack.
Yeah. Go easy.
Just go easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Learn from your experiences.
Yep.
Make as many mistakes as you can because they're such, the best teacher. Give yourself a break. You're doing fantastically, right? And leadership can be fun if you allow it to be. Yeah.
Go on the journey.
Yeah, exactly.
And go easy on yourself.
Exactly.
Love it. Grant, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thanks, Mark.
Grant. Bye. Thanks for joining us at the Lead Well, Live Well vodcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to know more about what we're all about, you can find us at leadwelllivewell.com.au.